Once upon a time, in the heart of a lush, green countryside, there was a cozy little farm surrounded by sparkling ponds and fields of wildflowers. On this farm, in a nest nestled among tall reeds, a mother duck was carefully tending to her eggs. Each day, she would sit patiently, keeping them warm beneath her soft feathers, while the gentle sounds of birds and the whisper of the breeze filled the air. One bright morning, as the sun peeked over the horizon, the eggs began to tremble and crack. One by one, fluffy little ducklings poked their heads out, chirping and blinking at the world for the very first time. The mother duck quacked with joy as she welcomed each new baby, admiring their soft yellow down and tiny orange beaks. But there was one egg, larger than the rest, that had yet to hatch. The mother duck waited and waited, until finally, with a loud crack, the last egg broke open. Out tumbled a strange-looking duckling. He was bigger than his siblings, with gray feathers instead of yellow, and a long, awkward neck. The other ducklings stared at him in surprise, and the mother duck looked on with concern. Still, she gathered all her babies close and led them to the pond for their very first swim. The pond sparkled under the morning sun, and the ducklings paddled happily, but the gray duckling noticed the others whispering and giggling. "Look at him," said one. "He doesn't look like us." Said another. The gray duckling felt a pang of sadness in his heart, but he did his best to keep up. As the days passed, the other animals on the farm began to notice the gray duckling as well. The hens clucked behind his back, the geese honked and flapped their wings at him, and even the farm cat eyed him with curiosity. "You're not like the others," they would say. "Why are you so ugly?" The little duckling tried to hide his tears, but he felt more lonely and unwanted with each passing day. One day, the gray duckling could bear it no longer. He slipped away from the farm, waddling through tall grass and over cool stones, until he reached a quiet pond far from the others. He looked at his reflection in the water, seeing his awkward neck and dull feathers. "Why am I so different?" he wondered, his heart heavy with sorrow. As autumn arrived, the world changed. The leaves turned gold and red, and the air became crisp. The duckling watched as flocks of beautiful white birds soared overhead, their wings gleaming in the sun. He longed to join them, but he knew he was too young and too weak to fly. With nowhere to go, he found shelter among the reeds, surviving the chilly nights as best he could. Sometimes, kind-hearted animals would share a bit of food with him, but most days he was alone. Winter came, covering the pond with a thick layer of ice. The cold was harsh, and the duckling struggled to stay warm. But he was determined to survive, hoping that life would somehow get better. When spring finally arrived, the ice melted, and the pond came alive with frogs, dragonflies, and singing birds. The duckling had grown, his feathers now sleek and white, though he hadn't noticed the change himself. One morning, as he paddled across the pond, he saw a group of magnificent white birds gliding gracefully across the water. Their long necks curved elegantly, and their wings shimmered in the sunlight. The duckling watched them, his heart full of admiration and longing. Summoning his courage, he approached the beautiful birds, bowing his head in respect. To his surprise, the white birds welcomed him with gentle voices and kind eyes. "Come, swim with us," they invited. The duckling joined them, feeling nervous but excited. As he glided across the water, he happened to glance at his own reflection. He gasped. No longer did he see an awkward gray duckling. Instead, a magnificent swan stared back at him, his feathers white as snow, his neck long and graceful. The other swans gathered around, admiring his beauty. The ugly duckling had transformed into the most beautiful swan of all. At last, he belonged. The pain and loneliness of his childhood faded away, replaced by joy and pride. He spread his wings wide and soared above the pond, feeling the wind lift him higher and higher. The swan remembered the days when he had been teased and rejected. But now he knew that what had seemed like ugliness was simply a sign that he was different, meant for something greater. He was not a duck at all. He was a swan, meant to glide across sparkling waters and fly high in the sky. And so, the swan lived happily among his new friends, never forgetting the journey that had brought him there. He learned that true beauty comes from within, and that sometimes the things that make us different are the very things that make us special. As the sun set over the golden pond, the swan closed his eyes and felt at peace, knowing he had found his place in the world at last. And from that day on, whenever he saw a little one struggling to fit in, he would swim close and remind them, "Be patient, be kind to yourself, and never lose hope. One day, you'll discover just how wonderful you truly are."